Okay, it's Marcus from Wine Marlborough here, and we've got Gyles Walker from Morrisons buyer just in Marlborough, visited and just did a regional tasting. So we thought we'd capture some thoughts from that tasting. Gyles, if that's okay, put you on the spot and just get some overview of what you're seeing in the market and also what you've seen from our regional tasting. So kick off with whatever comes to mind first, either the market or what you saw in our regional tasting today.
Okay, first going about the UK market. So in terms of respect, what I do is so the New Zealand wine buyer for Morrisons, 430 grocery stores within the UK, so fourth largest grocer. And so we have a share of the grocery wine trade of about 10.9%, so it's market value. And we've grown a percentage point in the last 52 weeks, which is fantastic.
Wow.
Now, some of that growth has come from some really strong promotions, and some of that will be backed up by New Zealand wine. So our growth of New Zealand wine is currently 42% year on year, which is an amazing figure.
That's staggering.
And that's that's really helping our numbers. So it's about 6% of our total wine business, New Zealand. And what's great at the moment is the accessibility of New Zealand wines. It is Sauvignon Blanc. My whole range is virtually Sauvignon Blanc. I only have one red wine, which is one Pinot Noir, and of all the other white wines, I have just one Chardonnay. So everything is very much Sauvignon Blanc.
Is it going to be a while before that changes, in your view? Was that what you're here for?
One of the reasons to come out here is to investigate the potential of diversity, because New Zealand's definitely got a brand quality to our customer base. They are definitely buying into what New Zealand can do, which is fantastic Sauvignon Blanc. They understand Marlborough region for Sauvignon Blanc for New Zealand, but I feel there is opportunity for diversity to start to broaden the tasting profile for my customers, and that's what I'm over here to explore.
Great. So you said that growth is, what else is driving that 42% growth year on year?
Now, white wine and rosé wine is growing, and other white wines, I also buy Italian wine, and that's doing really well for us. And the white wine there would be Pinot Grigio. Now, Pinot Grigio has a great variety. It's a brand name now for the UK customer, for a type of UK customer. And Pinot Grigio works because of its, let's face it, its blandness from Italy.
Yeah, that's our challenge. We make wines with flavour and style.
Yeah, you make it too ripe, What you need to do is make it the Italian style, which is water white, pretty insipid, pretty bland. The reason it's working is because it's consistently like that. It's not frightening anybody with acidity, with fruit, etc. So, is there a certain
type of consumer who buys that as opposed to wines such as Sauvignon Blanc? Would you say they're quite different segments of the market?
I think there's a bit of overlap, because there is definitely Pinot Grigio is definitely an entry point for a lot of new consumers to wine because of its easiness. And then Sauvignon Blanc for me is bought by a customer who has a bit more knowledge about wine. And New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc would be more aspirational than Italian Pinot Grigio.
Yes.
But because there is a consistent style to Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc at the commercial price levels that I see, then it has become a brand on its own. Now, I think there's some real good cues there to try and build on that, and to try and expand to New Zealand. I'm also the buyer for Australian wine, so I can actually use the range that I have, the shelvings I have in my stores, to maybe develop the New Zealand range to the detriment of my Australian range. And that's something I'm seriously contemplating at the moment.
Yeah, well, my thoughts about cricket, so I'm all for that. Let's take on the Aussies.
Yeah, for that one.
Yeah, good stuff. And so, from the regional tasting today, what did you see? What did you highlight?
It came through again that the Sauvignon Blanc is definitely the strength for New Zealand. Marlborough Sauvignons were looking fantastic. Good to see some of the variation, obviously from Aotearoa to Guaro Valley, to the tropical fruit, to the green or Nettlia styles, and it's good to see that when it's blended as well, so you can get some different layers of flavours within Sauvignon Blanc. It's not just a one-dimensional style of wine. There are lots of layers there, fruit layers. Could be interesting to try and get some of that complexity across to the customer, but to be frank, the majority of my customers are really, they just like the fresh fruit flavour, juicy acidity, and the value that New Zealand Sauvignon offers at the moment. Looking at some of the other varieties that were there, the Pinot Gris, which we've kind of touched on, Pinot Grigio, super ripe, Alsatian styles or Northern Italian in style, but totally beyond what the UK customer understands Pinot Grigio is for. So would be a real hard one to get into the UK at the moment with those wines, although they are technically great and correct, but it's not the UK customer's profile. Of interest to me is Chardonnay. I think New Zealand's always done fantastic Chardonnay. Because of the slightly cooler climate to Australia, there's always more minerality, there's more refinement to it. But what we've got to watch out for is the balance with oak. Some of the wines I have to try today are still old school style, still quite chunky and aggressive with their oak, and the majority of the customers are looking for something which is more minerality, fresher, more juicy fruit flavours, decent bit of length there, kind of European in style, and I know that New Zealand can produce that. Looking at the reds, the Pinot Noir it's a holy grail, I think, for me as a retailer and for some of our customers. Burgundy is disappearing over the hill in terms of price point, as various different markets seem to spend a lot of money on buying top quality Burgundy, so it's something that I can't afford to buy myself personally anymore. So where do we go if people want to try Pinot Noir? New Zealand has a fantastic opportunity to sort of fill that middle ground. Cheap Burgundy is pretty horrible in my view. So people are looking for structure and fruit and some ripeness and some real character. And wines I tried today from New Zealand, there were one or two there which were along those lines and can really deliver. And there is definitely an aspirational opportunity with Pinot Noir. I believe the person who understands that grape variety will pay more for it. Other grape varieties, I'm interested in Merlot. I think Merlot can go really well, but it's got to be a nice fleshy style, to maybe touch greenness in there to make sure it's a bottle that you can have with food and really enjoy, so it's not residual sugar and it's just a one glass red. And there's also, I'd like to try some more Cabernet Merlot Cabernet blends, just to see how that's progressing within New Zealand. And Syrah or Shiraz, I know that the Australians are obviously hurting in the cricket, but also the fact that New Zealand Syrahs are beating them in blind tastings at the moment. I think very top end. They're very they're great wines, very aspirational. Not quite for my market at the moment, but if they can become more commercial, then it's an interesting style of wine.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for your thoughts.
Okay.
Really appreciate that, and for visiting us in Marlborough and supporting our wines. So thank you very much.
Cheers, Marcus.